How we think about ourselves by using the words we describe our being and our situation is key to determining how we will respond, how we will feel, and how we will act. I'm Barry Kibrick. Today, we will look at self-talk and why the proper usage of the proper words are so important, even in these toughest of times. When our minds are at rest, unfortunately, they are oftentimes filled with disturbing chatter that can cause anxiety and depression. But if we can manifest the proper self-talk, the words we choose carefully can actually help us out of even our most difficult situations. Now, I'm not talking about affirmations. I'm personally not a big fan of affirmations. They haven't worked for me, but if they do work for you, I want you to obviously continue. But if not, I want to tell you a few things that you can do to help yourself and those around you. Now, I want you to be clear. This is not a substitution for therapy or medication or anything else if you suffer from severe depression or anxiety. But even if you do, types of words you use when you are describing how you want to respond can make all the difference in the world. I realized this most recently when I myself went through a situation I even spoke about a few months ago. It was when I found out by my doctor that I had, as they say, prostate cancer, but as I say, I had cancer in my prostate. You see, a difference of phrasing. I didn't have cancer, my prostate did. So today I want to talk about phrasing and two particular words that really made an even bigger difference. I'll even tell you those words right now. They were adventure versus challenge. So what happened was I began to describe the situation to my viewers, as I said a few months ago, about the fact that they found cancer in my prostate. And I immediately changed that phrase to mean that I didn't have it. Now, when I did that, I found that all of a sudden, I was able to deal with the situation in a much more positive way. At first, I was so stunned by the news that I didn't even know what to do. And it was only as I was able to rethink and use words in a way that allowed me to really get through this that I found it benefited me. It even helped the doctors treat me, and all those around me felt different about me. There was no self-pity and there was no pity from others. I couldn't take that. But that simple phrasing, I don't have cancer, my prostate might, but not me, made all the difference in the world. The second thing was I had to look at this as an adventure. There were two things that were going to take place. One was I was going to be treated with radiation. Two, they would have to suppress my testosterone for at least 18 months. Now, for some reason, dealing with the radiation wasn't really a big problem. All I had to do and all I could even think of were two superheroes, the Hulk and Spider-Man. That was enough for me to know I'm getting through this okay. There's no way, in the best scenario, I become the Hulk. What can I tell you? And if I lose weight, I become Spider-Man. I can't lose either way. The blockage of my testosterone, however, that took a little bit more effort because although I never knew anyone that had that, I knew many men that had prostate cancer, and all they can do is tell me, you better avoid blocking your testosterone. Well, that, of course, when I found out was the first treatment they were going to do, threw me for a major loop. I almost refused the treatment. It wasn't until my doctor, who I truly adore and respect, called me while he was on the way to a hospital, and I told this in my earlier chat with you, he was on the way to the hospital to get his own kidney stones removed. And he called me and said, Barry, you must start this treatment immediately. So I had to think, how can I possibly make the blockage of my testosterone something as well positive? And it hit me. Like all men, I have sex on my mind a lot of the time. There was no doubt when they block your testosterone, that drive goes away. In this case, it would be temporarily for, as I said, 18 months, but it had me real nervous. So I had to think, how can I overcome this? I overcame the radiation, thought very well. How could I do this? Well, guess what? I was in the midst of writing my book and having a lot of trouble. Now, I'm still having a lot of trouble writing my book, but I'm able to concentrate much more on it because I am not constantly thinking of sex. And as I said, I know that's an issue for most men, so a little relief is not a bad thing. But what happened was very funny. I looked at this, as I looked at the radiation, as an adventure. That's how I was going to view this whole thing, as an adventure. And when I gave the talk a few months ago, I got many emails from other people that were dealing with cancer. And many wrote me how the phrase that I didn't have cancer, that only a part of my body did, really helped them. But they would always end it like this. It helped them with the challenge they had. And it wasn't just one email, it was about a half a dozen that said and used that same phrasing. They loved the way I described how it wasn't me that had cancer, but that now they were able to deal with their challenge better. And I had to write them all back and say, you know something? When you use that word challenge, I found that personally hard to swallow. I never allowed myself to feel that any of this was a challenge. I only allowed myself to see it as an adventure. And think about that for a moment. A challenge is something you have to overcome, but an adventure is something you go on with joy. I cannot tell you the difference it made to me, and when I responded to my viewers who wrote me and explained why I thought that way, they themselves noticed the difference. And then, when I spoke with my doctors, they too said, something strange is going on here. You really aren't showing any negative signs of the testosterone blockage or of any radiation. Now, yes, sure, that could be just sheer coincidence. I can't guarantee you that because I viewed things that way that it happened. But what I can guarantee you is how I viewed things that way made me feel and made those around me feel. And when you're surrounded by doctors that now feel very different about how they're going to be treating you, and you feel that way, and your family and friends feel that way, your life changes tremendously. And then I began to extrapolate that and looked at the times we're in now. These great times of uncertainty. Lockdown, how long will it last? Quarantine, how long will this virus be hanging around? Will we be able to get back to work? How will we be able to, quote, find the new normal? Well, there is no new normal. It'll just be another normal, period. But the truth is, do we look at it as a challenge? Or do we look at this as an adventure? I'm telling you, we look at this pandemic as an adventure. And no matter what happens, we ourselves will get through it better. We will feel better about ourselves, our friends, our family, our society. We'll even be able to deal with all the mess ups that are going on in front of our very own eyes. Why not? It's an adventure. Who knows where it's going to lead? I'm Barry Kibrick, and I know that one of the greatest adventures I have is the time I get to share my thoughts with you. And I'm able to do this so thankfully to my patrons. I hope you'd consider becoming a patron. Visit my website at barrykibrick.com, and for as little as $2 a month, you can help me do this every week as well. But even more importantly is that I want you to share this with anyone else who can benefit by this type of knowledge, who can use this as a source of wisdom to make their situations feel better. That's the advantage of being on this adventure. And I challenge you to do that. Till next time,